And we showed in 2002 one of the most known key exhibitions of ZKM, Iconoclash, Beyond the Image Wars in Science, Religion, and in Art. So, and I will show you some photos that you have an impression what or how the exhibitions look like in ZKM. So that's net condition, very old computers. After 10 or 12 years, that's the feeling I have when I see the photos again. Some of the installations of Olafur Eliasson. And the audience was addicted to an ice floor in the Media Museum, which was as big as a light well is, and they can slide on that ice floor in the very hot August. The photos are related to the Iconoclash exhibition will show you that we are not only dealing with different genres of art like painting, sculpture, and new media, but as well with historical art. You can see here Lukas Kranach and Malevich. And the publication of Iconoclash is completely sold out over the last years. And it is not only the key exhibition of ZKM, it was also the key publication of ZKM, which is highly discussed in the international art scene. So with controlled space rhetoric or surveillance from Bantam to Big Brother, we were more than up to date concerning 9/11. And of course we are a center of media art. We showed the masterpieces of media art out of the collection of ZKM. It was a permanent presentation from 2004 to 2007, and we were often asked why we disinstalled the exhibition after the duration of 2.5 years. And I think that will be a topic of my lecture further on. Of course, you have to save the artworks, and over the period of 2.5 years, some of the installations break down. And that's the reason why we have that emphasis on conservation up to that point of time. Light art from artificial light. That was the most popular exhibition ZKM ever showed. There were 120,000 visitors in this exhibition, and they were addicted to the light art. For us, for ZKM, it was a very interesting project, because we were confronted with quite new problems of conservation. So we received many artworks from institutions over the world which hadn't been shown over the last 40 years. So we had to deal with broken bulbs, with broken cables, and with a technique which was not set up for the permanently use. So during the whole phase of installation, the exhibition, we had to set up a conservation program and a restoration program. We didn't expect this, so we were highly surprised or shocked when we opened the crates with the artworks, and we have to restore them from 0 to 100. So that was a starting point to professionalize the conservation strategies for new media art in ZKM. Before we collect media art, and with light art, we have to be aware that our own collection and the collections in other institutions are highly endangered by the very fast development of disappearance in the new media art. Making Things Public was a theoretical exhibition. It was focused on atmospheres of democracy. And it was curated or co-curated by Bruno Latour, as well as the Iconoclash exhibition. One of the interesting points of this exhibition was that we of course, presented interactive media art, but the whole exhibition was interactive. The architectural concept was an interactive one. We celebrated several anniversaries of ZKM in the last 4 years. In 2007, we celebrated something like a housewarming party, because ZKM stayed for 10 years in the building I mentioned before. One exhibition of this anniversary we dedicated to the Asian art. And the second exhibition in the frame of our anniversary celebrations was User, the Century of the Consumer. 2007 was the year where the social medias were set up for a wider audience, and there were hundreds of interviews with Peter Weibel and with the staff of ZKM, what the importance and what the meaning is to social media and to Second Life. So we feel responsible to show the audience and to show the public what an artistic appliance could be with that new social medias and with the Web 2, which was a quite advanced development on the basis of the former internet. We celebrated the 10th anniversary in 2007, and we celebrated the 20th anniversary in 2009. That's the magic of figures in ZKM. So the 20th anniversary was related to the founding of ZKM in the year 1989. So, and we presented an exhibition with the title Imagining Media at ZKM. And we show the most important productions ZKM had made with guest artists and guest scientists. And you can see the poster of the exhibition, which is designed with QR codes, with quick response codes. That was the identity of that exhibition and of the whole design of the anniversary. So what means the quick response code? That's an abstract symbol of several installations you could see in the installation, and the slogan was, take your phone, take a photo. So you can take a photo of that code and you get access to the image or to the movie of the installation and to further informations about the artist, about the artwork, about the technical conditions of the artwork, about the historical context. So this abstract and flat code is more than the artwork. And that's what we liked to present to the audience. And some of the artists, they also work with codes like that to give access to mobile websites with further information or with further artworks. So I will come back to that very important point in my lecture. Of course, this means something like an expanded museum or expanded artworks. Some of the exhibitions of ZKM, they are dedicated to the history of media art. So, and I'm looking for a new paper. We had an interesting discussion during the dinner yesterday, and I became aware that I should mention or that I should have a slight focus on this exhibition, because there is not enough knowledge worldwide about the history of art, of new media art, and the term of new media art. What is new media art? For the most people or the wider audience, video art is new media, but in the understanding of ZKM, video art is a very old media, because it was set up in the 60s of the last century. That's more than 50 years ago. But on the other hand, there is no knowledge about the context of media art and what was or were the circumstances that brings media art into the world. So light art from artificial light was one of that leading exhibitions, and it showed also the synesthetic phenomenon in the early 20th century, which was brought to a wider audience with the Bauhaus. So they combined the acoustic art with the visual art, and they started to create these synesthetic artworks, like the light piano or other artworks. And we continued that line of exhibition with the so-called algorithm revolution, and with an exhibition related to the festival Nove Tendencia, which happened in the late 60s and the early 70s in Zagreb. So both exhibitions were focused on op art and kinetic art, which are the preparation of the so-called early programmed art, which is a very, very early phase of computer art. And op art and kinetic art, they are not computer-based, and that's the important thing we try to explain the audience, that new media art doesn't mean particularly computer-based interactive art, but that op art and kinetic art has this very special roots of interactive art in his own concept. So as well as fluxus is important for the interactive art, because the audience was invited to perform with the artist and to complete the artwork with their own action. We also showed the exhibition Buffalo Hats, which was focused on the first media faculty on a university in the city of Buffalo in the state of New York. And we invited artists like Steiner and Woody Wasulka, Gerald O'Grady or Tony Conrad, and among others, to present their works from the early 60s and 70s of the last century. And that was a very, very interesting experience, because their artworks wasn't shown over the last 30 years. And it was a challenge for our conservation department to bring them to the audience again. And we had the chance to do it in collaboration with the artists, so they can authorize the way we do it, or we did it. And I told you about the masterpieces of art at ZKM, the exhibition I showed you before, and as well Imagining Media at ZKM. So that's the wide scale of, of not only presenting the new media art, but also of research of the history of new media art. And we do that research also on that theoretical basis. We have an exhibition line with smaller exhibitions concerning the philosophers of the media age, like Foucault, Virilio, Baudrillard, Deleuze, Willem Flusser, and Max Bense. And we show exhibitions out of the archives of ZKM relating to the pioneers of media art, like Kawano, which was a Japanese scientist and artist, and he definitely created the first computer-based graphic. And we showed archive exhibitions concerning Max Bense or Franke, which is a German pioneer of media art. So, and the current exhibitions of ZKM are Car Culture, Media of Mobility. That's the first one. And we started with the exhibition in June. We were asked by the city of Karlsruhe and the state of Baden-Württemberg to contribute an exhibition to a year-long program. It's called Automobil Summer Baden-Württemberg 2011. That sounds very horrible, and it is indeed. But we make the decision to be part of that program and to show car culture. And there are two emphases within this exhibition. One emphasis is dedicated to Carl Benz, which was the pioneer of the automobile mobility, and he was born in Karlsruhe. So we show cars as sculptures. And we redesigned the Media Museum to a parking place. And there's a second emphasis in the exhibition, and it's dedicated to Heinrich Hertz and the virtual mobility. Heinrich Hertz was professor on the University of Karlsruhe, and they both, Carl Benz and Heinrich Hertz, they made their important experiments, and in the late 19th century, I think approximately 1886, and they brought the two forms of mobility into the world, which are the basis of our modern society, the automobility and the virtual mobility, the mobility of the codes and of the information. So the experiments of Heinrich Hertz, they brought into world the wireless communication. So, and for that, app art has been an important exhibition part within this line of car culture media of mobility. In September, we will open an exhibition with the title The Global Contemporary Art Worlds After 1989. The curators are Peter Weibel and Hans Belting. Do you know Hans Belting? Have you ever heard his name? He is one of the leading art historians, and he set up the so-called iconic turn 20 years ago. And he was professor on the university within the ZKM building, and we had a very close relationship, and he was wondering how the art world was changing after 1989, after the German reunion, and after the start of the dynamic globalization. And that might be interesting for Celine, maybe. Of course, we haven't focused on the development of the art markets and the biennials, which increases up to this date. So I hope you have now a brief impression what ZKM is or could be. And I would like to show you a brief trailer. Can I show you? Yes.